I'm sure all our guests here have been recognized, and therefore I don't have to go back to recognizing everybody again. My brother Chairman, we give thanks to the Most High God for yet another year. And not just another year, but another year of great possibilities for divine grace and fulfilled aspirations. Tonight, we celebrate the most valuable gift of God that God has given us, the gift of peace. And we can only begin by saluting all our peacemakers and peace builders. From our gallant men and women in uniform, the soldiers and the police, who are risking their lives each day for our safety and security, to our religious leaders, academics, opinion leaders, through whom morale composed we are kept in the straight and narrow. As the Bible says, blessed are the peacemakers, and to them we extend the eternal gratitude of the nation. We are honored to have our special guest of honor, Ghana's newest contribution to the international public service, Her Excellency Shirley Ayoko Obotre, Secretary General of the Commonwealth of Nations. Shirley follows in a distinguished line of illustrious Ghanaians who have helped shape the architecture of the international order since Ghana joined the Committee of Free Nations in 1957. Beginning with A.L. Adu, we have had Dr. Robert Gardner, Kenneth Dazi, General Eskin, Cardinal Texan, K.Y. Mwakon, on to our Reverend Busuru Kofi Annan, whose tenure as Secretary General of the United Nations remains among the most memorable in the history of the organization. It is fitting in celebrating the peace of the nation that we acknowledge the leadership that has made this possible. So tonight, we honor His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, the President of the Republic of Ghana, and his two living predecessors, President John Otumfuo and Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo, for their contributions to office in the preservation of peace in the peace of the nation. President Kufuor set the tone by entrusting us with the delicate task of helping to resolve the seemingly intractable conflict within the Gabon Kingdom. We were able to achieve a resolution under President Akufo-Addo, who in turn handed us the challenge of the Boko conflict. And by the forthright action of President Mahama, we hope the stake has been set for the restoration of harmony in time to Boko. In honoring them tonight, we are underlining our commitment to the unity of our nation and to greater harmony and consensus building in our political discourse. We seek to affirm that in office or out of office, Manshia is home to whoever has the unique privilege of drawing the sacred sword of the state and swearing allegiance to the people. We know what it means to draw the impossible sword and swear to the people, and the moral and spiritual significance can never be lost or undervalued. Sadly, the adversarial nature of politics often threatens to overrun our natural instincts for civility and brotherliness. But Manshia remains determined to ensure Ghanaians do not give in to the corrosive embers of misguided politics, but remain true to our time-honored traditional values of respect for our elders. Our goal is to create conditions for consensus building and mitigate the effects of the perpetual acrimony we continue to experience. In honoring them tonight, we also want the nation to create space for them, as seven and former heads of state, to engage on critical national issues, not as adversaries, but as elder statesmen whose insights can be invaluable in the search for solutions to our myriad national issues. This can be a massive boost not only for orderly governance, but for the peace and harmony of the state. let me seize this opportunity to say thank you to the Olu of Wari and his consort, Queen Consort, for making time to be with us to celebrate with us tonight. We thank you very much for coming.
Sure.
Our experience tells us that no one can take the peace of the land for granted. Beyond the settlements which occupy the headlines, much of our time has been spent resolving disputes and holding off conflicts which could have had dire consequences on our communities. Our role has had a massive impact on the operations of business, providing perhaps the only access to the free resolution of litigation. Indeed, when I look back on the number of cases we have resolved and continue to resolve, and consider the impact they have made on the cost of doing business as well as the harmony it has established among families, we can only be thankful for the wisdom and ingenuity of our forefathers who created the structures on which chieftaincy is built.
Jean.
That is why I continue to impress upon the nation that traditional leadership needs to be nurtured and supported to be able to continue as a bedrock of peace and a catalyst for development.
Jean.
This year, thanks to our innovative Inspector General of Police, we have begun a new initiative in community peace building through collaboration between traditional leadership and law enforcement.
Jean.
But, Mr. Chairman, peace is indivisible. It cannot be preserved or protected in isolation. In the global village, which is the state of our world, there's nothing like an isolated conflict, and there's no immunity for anyone from the ravages of conflict anywhere. Wherever the peace is threatened, the whole world is threatened. So we cannot talk about peace in Ghana without feeling the crushing weight of and the corrosive impact of the wars raging in Europe and the Middle East. Every Ghanaian must feel a sense of pride that once again, we have a daughter in the pool of international diplomacy. Our pride is that. Our pride is greater when you realize that the office to which our daughter has been elected has been of Ghana's manifest contributions to the sustenance of international order.
Jean.
At a time when the Commonwealth was drifting amidst an uncertain political climate, it was the proposal of Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, our founding Prime Minister, which led to the creation of the office that was to give us the institutional stability that Commonwealth has enjoyed and continues to relish.
Jean.
Unfortunately, Shirley could not have stepped into the job at a more challenging time. The entire international order on which the peace of the world has been sustained since the last World War is now under threat.
Jean.
We now need the wisdom of King Solomon and the patience of Job to help us to navigate through the treacherous terrain.
Jean.
The geopolitical uncertainties of today pose a serious challenge to the Commonwealth. As the largest grouping of sovereign states outside the United Nations, spanning virtually all the continents and across all religious faiths, it stands as one repository of the values of history and tradition on which a stable world order can be sustained.
Jean.
So we hope, even amidst the bloodshed and carnage, that there is a scope for the Commonwealth to act as a bridge between the combatants and a bridge to lasting peace.
Jean.
Tonight, we convey to the powers who carry the destiny of the world on their fingertips to hearken to the cries of the millions who are the collateral victims of wars about which they have not the faintest idea. There's not a soul in Sasamo, Chiobodom, Bimbila, or Anehu who has the foggiest notion about the cause of the wars. And yet, there's no single Ghanaian in city, town, or village, and no African anywhere who is not being impacted by the raging wars. Indeed, I submit that the heart-rending suffering we are seeing on the airwaves are only a tip of the iceberg. The true collateral damage to the innocent villages of the globe is yet to be measured. The innocent millions of the world who are the collateral victims are crying in silence, and their cries of anguish and the tears of despair can.
Jom. Jom.
My brother Chairman, even as we focus on peace, we cannot ignore the reality that there are preconditions for the sustenance of peace. Good governance, the rule of law, and a sound, resilient economy. We are not only celebrating 27 years of our reign, we are also celebrating the 70th year of the birth of Ghana as a sovereign nation.
Jom.
As you know, next year marks the 70th year of our birth and beginning of the 7th decade of our nationhood. We have every hope that the happy signs we see must be a prelude to a happier decade to come.
Jom.
Destiny has conferred on His Excellency President Dramani Mahama the duty of leading his people into the 7th decade of nationhood. As always, we remain faithful to the President on the journey towards the fulfillment of his mandate, and we cherish the hope that his legacy to successors will be a Ghana wealthier, happier, and prouder than he inherited.
Jom.
Along the journey, we hope he will help set the tone for a new politics for the decade of the 70s. A new politics less in acrimony, zero tolerance of insults, laid on the foundations of truth, discipline and respect for law and order, and focused on the 3 pillars of development, development, and development.
Jom.
We need a new paradigm in relations between the state and business, which recognizes that successful governance is dedicated on success in business, and business becomes the key barometer by which we measure national prosperity.
Jom.
The reality today is that there is no free lunch at the inn any longer. The current international order has no room for the lazy, the reckless, or the indisciplined. More than at any time in history, we have to survive by the sweat of our brows. It calls for a major attitudinal change at all levels of society.
Jom.
It is a challenge as much to our leaders as it is to every citizen of the land.
Jom.
For too long, we have indulged the luxury of blaming everybody else but ourselves for our woes. We even continue to blame the First Republic, which ended 60 years ago, for our failings today. Yes, 60 years later, we blame the government for corruption, but we ignore that the fact that we ourselves are responsible for stimulating it. Politicians blame religious leaders for mounting moral turpitude, and religious leaders blame politicians for lacking moral discipline.
Jom.
Parents blame schools for lack of discipline, and schools blame parents for lack of parental care.
Jom.
It is time to end the fruitless blame game. Each of us must look at ourselves in the mirror and ask, what can we do better for ourselves, for our families, and for the nation? It is the only way forward. When a Ghanaian walks into a shopping mall and finds more than 90% of the goods on offer to be imported, it must strike him instantly that there is a huge market for manufacturing in the country.
Jom.
And if there's any entrepreneurial instinct in him, it must drive him to explore the possibilities for investment. It is not a matter for government, it is a matter of business.
Jom.
It has been refreshing to listen to a number of initiatives from government to stimulate private sector production in agriculture, forestry, and industries. The creation of the Tree Crop Authority is a welcome innovation, and the efforts of the Ministry of Trade to drive investment in agro-business is another step in this direction. The challenge now is how the people are responding.
Jom.
The history of Ghana is replete with a number of government initiatives that have ultimately bitten the dust because the people have responded to them more as political gestures than as serious efforts at economic development.
Zoom.
We cannot afford another phase of the same routine.
Zoom.
The people of Ghana need to demonstrate first that we care for the economic development of our nation.
Zoom.
Secondly, we recognize ourselves as the driving force for that development.
Zoom.
It is upon our shoulders that the burden of development rests. It is ours to explore the opportunities available, and it is ours to take the risks. It is ours to take the hard decisions about where and how to invest our resources.
Zoom.
If we, as citizens, are not prepared to take the risk of investing in manufacturing in our country, we should not expect others to come and invest.
Zoom.
We should not expect to outsource the risk and hard work required for development and expect to enjoy the benefits and rewards of development.
Zoom.
There can be no gain without the campaign. The campaign achieves its purpose. In my view, the circumstances of our time call for a campaign just as momentous as the campaign for self-government.
Zoom.
So tonight, I'm moved to invite captains of business gathered here and beyond to join hands with our traditional leaders, our farmers, our media, and all relevant sections of society to start another campaign to build Ghana now.
Zoom. Zoom.
It is a call to unleash the energies of our communities, to encourage our people to put their money where their mouths are, to raise the capacity, to take risks, and to invest in the future of the only nation we have. It is time once again for Wala to Wala.
Zoom.
But then, what I say to my dear governor, you have to put the money in there for us to be able to use it.
Zoom.
Private sector needs the money, and therefore the banks also need the money. Fortunately, your trust bills are not attractive now, so the money must go into private sector for us to be able to use for investment.
Zoom.
So that I know that the banks were just borrowing money to government and then buying them in treasury bills, and then in their balance sheet it was showing that they are making profit, but the economy was not turning around. And therefore, that was not good banking. I wasn't actually look at the balance sheet of the banks and they were buying trade. The bank government is borrowing money.